Hi guys and girls on YouTube, and welcome to my channel. If you've watched any of my other videos, I usually do TV repairs, so I thought let's make a different video, let's break the mould, and in this video we're going to be having a look at a vintage video recorder. So let's just put it on the bench first, and these were very popular in the later 1980s, so I think most people recognise this. Let's bring the camera over here. It is of course the Panasonic NV-333 top loading video, a massively popular machine. Now I can't remember how much these were new, but in the late 1980s or mid 1980s when they came out, these have been an awful lot of money. Now it's such a long time since I've actually repaired one of these. I used to do a lot back in the days, but it's such a long time's passed now I can't remember anything about these. The only thing I can say is it uses an infrared cassette lamp rather than an incandescent lamp. These are actually cassette lamps for a Sharp VC 7300. But this actually used the infrared. Now I know towards a bit later on in life, Panasonic used to do repair kits for these, and they'd have the belts, the pinch roller, the idlers, and it was all nicely laid out in a kit. And at the time it only cost £7 or £8 for a kit. Well, I suppose back then that was quite a lot of money, but it was a complete service kit all in one go. Now I don't think I've any left of them. I did have a great load for the K-Decks. Was it the K-Deck? I can't remember. It's the one where you had a great mass of cogs and they used to jump a tooth. No, actually I've just remembered, it wasn't the K-Deck, it was the G-Deck. Yeah, I had a load of kits left over in them, and I just sold them all off to get rid of them, because there's no way I'm going to get involved in a G-Deck again. I mean, the rebuild time on them was something like at least an hour, probably even 2 hours to rebuild the whole deck. So I thought I'm never going down that route again. I got rid of all them. I mean, I might have the odd part or two for these. I'd have to have a look, but for a start, let's get out the service manual first, see if it jogs any memories. So let's just lift up this cloth where I'm working. There's actually thousands of service manuals under here, in no order. Nothing's in any order since I moved, because I never thought I'd use all these again. But if you take a look, we've got video, we've got microwave, we've got ITT TV, Inari video, and these actually go back. There's even more at the back. Now the Panasonic ones, they're easy to find because they stand out like a sore thumb. They're here. So I wonder if we can get them out without a load of stuff dropping down. Right, let's get these out. Right, a bit dusty. Don't know what that's doing in there, but we don't need that one. So let's have a look what we've got here. Is that the one there? Yeah, I think that's the one. I have to put the camera down and just pull these out. Yeah, look at that. Who remembers when you can get a service manual for a little cassette player? And if we just... oh, service manual for FM radio, portable radio. If we turn over to the back of this little cassette player, you could even get spare parts for the headphones. That's how expensive things were back in them days. Anyway, let's move on. So I've got some service manuals here. Let's just take a quick look at these. You might recognise these: NV300, NV2000, NV777. But the one we're interested in here is the NV-333. Right, so we're halfway to fixing it because we've got the manual. Oh, there we go. There's a lot of pages in it. Some very nice circuit diagrams there in case we have an electrical fault. But I would imagine back in its day, most videos used to suffer from mechanical faults. Very few electrical faults, as I seem to remember, apart from cassette lamps in early ones and liquid spills. So I think probably the best thing to do is to get the top off it first and have a look inside. So let's not forget though the old service cassette, a must for servicing videos. So I'll just plug it in first and make sure it comes on. So the clock's flashing, video on. Was it on already? No, it was on already because that green light's lit. Yeah, that's on. Eject, electronic eject. Oh, well, that's half a start. I can't remember how the eject mechanism works. I presume it's belt driven, I can't remember, but whichever it is, it's working. Right, let's get the lid off it then, have a look inside. Right, well that's the inside view. It's actually very, very dirty inside. I don't think the top's been off that for a long time. If we look at the back, what's that there? That's the tuner there. Oh, the modulator's on this side. Yeah, just look at the dirt in that. Absolutely thick with dirt, so it'll need a good hoover out at the very least. I'm going to take that off and see if the head appears to have been changed at any time. Let's just eject it. The only thing I can see is it would appear to have had a new idler fitted, because that's white and everything else inside is yellow. So I would imagine that has been replaced at some time. But let's just whip the screening cover off and just have a look at the head as well. Right, so the head has been changed at some time, because if you look at the soldering there, it's actually quite poor. That's not factory soldering. If you turn it around there, you can see the factory soldering there. So that head has been changed at one time or another. Now I don't know whether that's a good sign or a bad sign, because when you're changing the head, you should always change the back tension band and set up the back tension with a torque gauge, and a lot of engineers didn't used to do that, and you'd end up with premature head wear. So the fact that it's had a new head, I don't know if it's good or bad. But what we need to do now before we go any further is we need to get this in and make sure everything's turning. Get it in the right way. So let's have a look on the front. We've got rewind first. Yeah, that works, and of course it only rewinds for a few seconds because it's detected that that one's not turning. So let's try the fast forward now. That's working, but it's noisy. So I would imagine that this wants taking off here, lubricating and putting back. Yeah, you can stop the noise by touching it. Find the stop button there, and the all important one, the play. Make sure it laces up. Yeah, that's the guide's gone into the V block, so the loading's okay, it's playing. Not a great deal of torque there. I think we need to try it with a cassette first and see what happens, but it mechanically seems to be working okay. Let's find an old cassette now and try and see what happens first. Eject. Right, so fast forward. That works. Stop. Rewind, yeah, that works. Let's press stop. And the all important one, the play. Here we go. Let's see it threading up. Right, it's very slow threading up. Oh, it has gone into play mode. It's very slow, so it might need a belt, or it might be that these guides need cleaning and lubricating with what was it? Got it up here somewhere. Let's have a look up here. Hytosol, which I think is just lithium based grease, what they use like in CV boots on cars. So as it's playing away and it's turning, what we need to do now is connect it to a TV, see what happens. Right, so all we need now is a period TV to try this on. Well, back in its day, you could very well be running this on a Fidelity CTV 14R from the 1980s. So let's get that connected up to it first. So the first thing you do is you switch on the test signal on the back of your TV, which is down there. Now that will give you some sort of black and white pattern on the TV. Sometimes it was two vertical bars that you'd look for when you're tuning in the telly. So let's do that next. Test signals on. I'll just get the TV on. Right, here we go. Number one. Long screwdriver, of course. I haven't got the proper tuning tool that goes in there. Right, so that's the test signal. Switch that off now. Right, so the TV is now tuned into the RF output of the video, which used to be about channel 36. Let's press the play button, see what happens. Do we have a picture or don't we? Yes, we have a picture. That black band, of course, is coming from the camera. I'm going to have to fine tune this because without this door's broken, it operates the AFC switch when you shut the door, that little switch, and because it's broke, it's not working. So we're going to have to fine tune it by hand. Right, where's the volume? And it's all working. So we don't actually need the service manual. What we need is a good clean and grease them guides, I think. I wonder what the fast forward's like. Yeah, that works. Rewind. No, that's rewind, sorry. Let's try fast forwards. Play. Just turn this light out, see if it makes it any better. Oh, a bit loud now. What's this we're watching? Oh, Cross of Iron, a war film. Right, so let's get the cassette holder out so we can have a look underneath. Now, according to this, you mustn't alter screw A. which I presume is the one with the red paint on. So I think to undo the cassette holder, it's the 2 red screws each side. Right, that's that bit out. Now we've got a better view of the deck, and if you can see, that's very white. Everything else plastic seems to have yellowed, so I would imagine that idler has been changed at some time. See, look at the difference in colour in that one to that one. But yeah, that gives us a good position now to service the deck, clean it all out, bit of lubrication. I've done a bit of hoovering down there. That's pretty clean. Can't get that, well, I've got it clean, but it's a bit rusty. But yeah, it's hoovered up best I can. Let's do a little bit of work on this deck now. Right, so that's all the old grease removed from the guides, because these are very important. It's got to exactly lock into that V block. If it doesn't, you'll have tracking errors. Now, I couldn't remember for the life of me what that grease was called. Well, it's just come to me now, and it's graphite grease, what they use in CV boots. And the reason mine is called Hytosol is because every manufacturer, when you bought service items from them, they'd have their own greases. So this is called Hytosol because it's for Hitachi. This is what Hitachi supplied for one of theirs. Now, different manufacturers would use a different name. If we look in here, and Grundig, you had a different tube for all different parts of the video. These are so old now, I forgot what these even do. But it's to tell you in the service manual, like grease number 1 would go here, grease number 2 would go somewhere else. And if we pull out one of these, Sliders oil, no idea what that is, I can't remember. Scintillager oil, I think that was for doing bearings. And let's have a look here. Pan motor oil, so that's obviously a Panasonic grease. No, Panasonic oil, sorry, and it would suggest it's for oiling the motor bearings. That's another graphite grease, that's called something different. But at the end of the day, it's just CV boot grease. So we'll get some back on there now, and then we'll do a little bit more cleaning up. Right, so that's the take-up reel off. I'm just going to clean this shaft and re-lubricate that, and then we'll fit that back on. These are actually looking a little bit worse for wear. And at one time, you'd change these, but I probably don't have them now. Also, you'd put new brakes on, but I probably don't have these either, so we're just going to clean these felt pads up. Right, so that's the take-up spool back on. What I'm going to do now is clean all these mechanically moving parts, these guys, the capstan, the tape guys, the audio control head, the raise head. I'll clean all the surfaces of them, make them nice and shiny, and that's really all I'm going to do to it. I'm not going to clean the video head, although it probably would benefit from a clean, but at the moment I've run out of lint-free cloths, or lint-free pads if you want, and I've never replaced them. But so I'm not going to clean the head, and it's plain anyway, and then we'll just reassemble it and have a look what it's like now. Right, so that's all nice and clean. That there is the back tension band, and that was set by putting a special tool into that hole, and loosening that screw and then turning the tool so that moves up and down on them teeth to either tighten the band. That's the back tension arm, to either tighten the band or slacken it off. And you had a special cassette you went in, and you adjusted this for a specified torque, whatever the manufacturers recommended. But let's reassemble it now, put the carriage back in, and see if it still works, or see how well it works now. And as you would expect, now we've cleaned it all up, re-lubricated it, it no longer works. because there's a belt slipping. If we put it in play, you can see it's not fully loaded up. So we're going to have to take the bottom off and have a look for a loading belt. Right, so you might as well have a look underneath now, how complex it is while you're at it. And according to the service manual, to remove this board, to get this board hinged down, you have to take off the front panel. So I'm going to do that next. Right, so that was easy enough, and now we can actually clean the vacuum fluorescent display for the clock. So you give that a bit of a wipe, because it's very dirty. As you can see, we'll have a lot brighter clock on this. But for the minute, let's hinge it down and look for a loading belt. Right, so that's it with the board down. If you look inside there, how complex it is. Masses and masses of electronics. Now I had a right struggle getting that board down, because what you've got to do is you've got to undo these red screws and then it'll just come out. Well, I undid them screws and it would not move, and then I found there's a screw there, and if you look, let's get it on, tell you what, let's get it on the service manual. They're all red. That one's red at the bottom, but it's gold at the top, and you don't undo the gold ones, you just undo the red ones. For some reason the red colour on it has actually faded, so that's why I couldn't get it out. Very strange that. Anyway, it's out, and I can see there's two belts there. It's probably this one, I would have thought, so let's just whip that off. Right, so with my very limited amount of belts left, I did actually find one for that, but that's not cured it. We need to change this big one now, so I've just got to take that cover off there, and let's look for one of them then. Yeah, if you look at the shape of that, it's gone pretty square, so that's the next challenge, to find a new one of them. Right, that's the nearest one I can find. Let's get that on. Actually, I don't know if it shows up on the camera, but I've spotted another belt down here I'm going to change, because they're all interlinked, so we need to change the whole lot. It's a little tiny one down there. Right, so that's another belt that's gone out of shape. So obviously this has been standing for a long time in one position, never used. Right, so there we go, that's the 3 new belts on. I've not changed the capstan belt because it seemed to be running at the right speed anyway. Let's just load it up. Now, I've not put it all back together because this is going to have to come off again. I've spotted an even bigger problem. But let's find the play. The third one down. I've changed the tape for one that's more appropriate. And there we go, we're up and playing again. Where's the volume?
What? Sesame, it was a tape in the car.
Right, so it's nearly time to go home. I'm going to finish this another day, but let me just show you what else I've spotted under here. I don't know how well it shows up, but let's get it into focus. Let's see if we can zoom in actually. Can you see them black marks around? There's obviously a capacitor there, C13. Can you see them dark spots on the PCB? That indicates that electrolyte is leaking from that capacitor, and it's actually attacking the circuit board. It doesn't show up very well on the camera. You can just about see it there. So I'm going to have to change that capacitor before we do anything else, because it'll eventually eat that track away and it's not going to work at all then. So that is a job for another day. We will come back to this and we will have it up and running. Right, so here's the cap on the manual. It says C13 in the video, but here you seem to add a 10 to everything, so it's C1013. But that's the one, 47 mic, 6 volt. All it does is decouple the regulated 9 volt coming out of this linear regulator. Right, so let's get that out first. Right, so it's just about visible there. I've already unsoldered it. It is this blue one here. That's the one. Right, so I don't know how well you can see this, but you see where the capacitor was? You see how dark it's gone on the board? That's not caused by heat, that's caused by electrolytes soaking into the board. If we move the camera up, it should be a lighter brown, and that is a darker brown, so that definitely needs changing before it causes any more damage. Right, so that's the one. Now, while it doesn't look wet like you might expect, the legs on this are green, so the electrolyte's actually running down the legs of capacitor. But anyway, let's get a new one of them in. Right, so that's that done. I've just swapped the tape for a different one, Pokemon, because that other one's not very good. Let's see this running then. So the plate is the third one down. Well, in fact, we'll watch it lacing up. And that's it, running there. Right, let's see it eject. And there we go. Obviously there's other things need doing to it. It's a benefit from having all new brakes, a back tension band, a new idler down there, a new pinch roller. But I just don't have all these things. Well, at least I don't think I have them all. But anyway, the general idea was just to get this going to make a YouTube video, not to actually use it. So let's just reassemble it all now. Yeah, I've actually just measured the take-up torque with this gauge, and it is that just sits on there to measure the take-up torque. It is quite weak, so it would benefit from having all the rubbers changed. But anyway, that was only done to make a video. Right, so let's get the lid on and we'll just see it for one more final time. Right, so there we go. That's the Panasonic NV-333 video recorder. Back from the days when Panasonic used to make some really good stuff. Now, if you remember me telling you earlier on in the video, you could actually get a service kit for these. Well, I've had a look around and I've actually found one. There's a couple of bits missing out of it, but this gives you a general idea. You got the pinch roller and the aluminium arm. You got the back tension band. There was 2 belts, the new washers and the new clips. Obviously the play idler or fast forward rewind idler as it is missing. But let's just turn over and have a look at that. A genuine Panasonic service kit. Now this is, of course, for the dreaded G-deck, which I thought I got rid of them, but this is only the top part of the G-deck. It's not the one that contains all the cogs. But this is, you know, back to the day when Panasonic made really good stuff and they really backed up the dealers. Is there a date on that? 2002. I'm not sure what year this is from. It's a lot earlier than that. This is probably mid 1980s. But anyway, there we go. That's the Panasonic NV-333. Many thanks for watching, guys and girls, and I'll catch you in the next video. Oh, and just one last thing in case you're wondering. I did keep about 50 videos just in case VHS makes a comeback. Alright guys and girls, catch you in the next video. Many thanks for watching.